Hey everybody, my name is Quinn the GM. Welcome back to the channel. I've made it clear over the past few months the Paladins are far and away my favorite class in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. And today's going to be another video catered directly to them, particularly one aspect of Paladin that I thought was quite confusing when I started out. I played one for about 2.5 years, and when I was initially picking spells at 3rd level, I had a lot of trouble. There were like 7 spells, all of which had Smite in the name, all of which, to my very new at D&D player eyes, seemed nearly identical. So today I'm going to go through all of those spells and rank them based on how useful I think they are for the Paladin's kit specifically. As all of these spells are pretty much exclusive to Paladin, save for a few spell lists. I think the Hexblade gets a couple. I think the Cleric gets a few with the Tasha's Call to Know Everything spell list expansions. But overall, these are designed explicitly for Paladins. A few commonalities between all of them are that they all have Smite in their name. They all only require verbal components, which is quite useful, as many Paladins have a shield in one hand and a sword or something in the other. My Paladin had a Warhammer, for one, because that was a favorite weapon of mine, still is. And furthermore, these spells all only take a bonus action to cast, so you can cast it and still have your attacks on any given turn. So yeah, we're going to go through, rank them from 7th and worst to 1st and best. If you enjoyed this, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I believe on my most recent video, or second most recent video, I think over 99% of my viewers were not subscribed. I'll throw that graphic up, but I'd really appreciate it if you did. And yeah, let's jump into the list. I do want to clarify, this is only ranking the Smite spells, so Divine Smite, the class feature, will not be ranked on this list, but know that it is probably the best out of any of these. If I could do either all of these or just do Divine Smite, I would choose Divine Smite, but these still all have really unique tactical effects that can be really helpful to your Paladin. We're going to jump into that right now. Blinding Smite is in 7th place. It is the lowest ranked here, and it is the only 3rd level Smite spell. Firstly, the damage is pretty uninspiring. It's only 3d8, which is only one fewer d8 than it would be should you just cast a normal Divine Smite at 3rd level. Furthermore, the damage is still just Radiant, which is not great. Paladin already has a ton of ways to do Radiant damage, and they don't really need more ways. A lot of the good elements of these other Smites is that their damage type is something unique and something that Paladins don't typically get very much of. Furthermore, the additional save is a Constitution save, which is usually one of the best saving throws possible on an enemy, which makes it pretty easy to resist. And furthermore, even at higher levels, Blinded isn't that great of a condition. You're going to get access to this at 9th level as a Paladin, I believe. At that point, you're definitely going to be facing enemies that might have True Sight, that might have Tremor Sense, that might have Blind Sight. And at that point, blinding them really isn't worth the 3rd level spell slot that you could instead use to bring somebody back to life. Or if you're a Vengeance Paladin like I was, cast Haste on yourself. So yeah, overall, Blinding Smite is quite underwhelming, and honestly, I would never pick it up on any Paladin, really, unless I was like specifically devoted to a god of light, and it really worked thematically. In 6th place, we have Branding Smite. This is a 2nd level spell, and the damage, again, is super low. This one is only 2d6 for a 2nd level spell, which is worse than some of the 1st level Smites. However, the main thing that I think this has going for it is a pretty unique secondary effect. The damage is still Radiant, which has the same problems as Blinding Smite, but the secondary effect makes a creature that is invisible not invisible, which is huge. If you need to continually be attacking a creature that is turning invisible, that is just game-changing entirely, and it's a pretty rare effect. Fairy Fire does that, See Invisibility does that, True Seeing does that, but that's nearly it. And furthermore, the reason that this sits above Blinding Smite in my eyes is, in addition to being a lower level spell, and thus being more excusable for having worse damage and a moderately more situational effect, I think that it's great that the effect does not require any saving throw whatsoever. It just happens. That is incredibly useful overall, and I really think that it's great to just be able to apply that debuff automatically on a hit. In 5th place, we have Searing Smite. Fire damage is also pretty uninspiring, but it's also rarer for a Paladin than Radiant damage. The additional damage is pretty uninspiring, but it's also really nice to have that residual damage from round to round. That's something that Paladins don't often get the ability to do. And the visual of just lighting an enemy on fire via a flaming sword or flaming axe is fantastic. The other reason this is pretty low on the list is there are a million ways to turn this fire off on a person. Particularly, they can make their Constitution save initially and not have it affect them at all, or they get to repeat the Constitution saving throw at the, I believe, start of each of their turns in order to potentially just end it immediately. And furthermore, creatures within 5 feet of them or themselves can just take an action to put it out, or they can be submerged in water and put it out. So yeah, if you can get this residual damage up, it's great to have, but it's difficult to make it stay up, particularly because, as I said, with Blinding Smite, Constitution saves tend to be some of the best in the game. Fourth on our list and fourth level is Staggering Smite. Psychic damage is a huge upside of the spell overall. Nearly nothing resists psychic damage unless you're fighting Mind Flayers, which my players last campaign did a lot of. And furthermore, the additional effect, which procs at a Wisdom saving throw, is quite useful. It's kind of a stun, but it's not a stun in the game sense. You're not actually giving them that condition, which could be useful if a creature is immune to the stun condition. Specifically, on a failed save, the creature has disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks and cannot take reactions until the end of its next turn, to essentially stagger them, as the name would imply, for a round. My main issue with this spell is, because it's such a high level, I feel like the damage should be a little higher, and I feel like that additional effect should last for the full minute of the spell, not just one round after the enemy is hit. It's quite powerful, but by the time a paladin has access to this, they're 13th level, and they're going to have so many better options for their potential spell slots there. And I really don't think this is quite at the level of being worth it, but I definitely think it's better than the previous three spells, which is why it is in the middle spot of our list. Moving on to the top three, we have Wrathful Smite. This is a first level spell, and as I said with the previous Smite, psychic damage is super good. Additionally, I believe 1d6 extra psychic damage is not terrible on a first level spell, in addition to this very powerful effect. If the target is a creature, they must make a Wisdom saving throw or be frightened of you until the spell ends. This lasts for up to a minute, so like 10 times longer than the previous spell. And at lower levels, Frightened is an awesome debuff to any enemy. It's really good to just have people not be able to attack you or even look at you or move closer to you, especially if you want an enemy to take a step back. I think this is a great crowd control option. I think that's something that paladins generally lack overall, which is why I like this so much. And additionally, it is something you can cast over and over again because it is first level, and you don't have that much of a resource cost when you decide to use it. In second place, we have the highest level Smite option, Banishing Smite. It is a 5th level spell, which means it is the peak of what paladins are able to do. They get this at 17th levels. This is very much an end game option for them. Still a bonus action, still 1 minute. The next time you hit a creature with a weapon attack before the spell ends, your weapon crackles with force and deals an extra 5d10 force damage to the target. That is fantastic, and it's worth noting that for 5th level spells, there is no point in upcasting regular Divine Smite. Regular Divine Smite caps out at 5d8 radiant damage, which you achieve at 4th level spell slots. So these aren't competing with your Divine Smite spell slots in order to use them. They can be just stacked on top and be essentially free from that burden that really all of their spells in this list are working against. And furthermore, I really love the additional effect on this one. If the attack reduces a target to 50 hit points or fewer, the target is immediately banished to a different plane of existence than the one you're on for 1 minute. They're also incapacitated while they're there. That is a fantastic effect. The 4th level spell Banishment is honestly on the level of this, if not a little worse, as it requires a save. This has no save. It's just based on the number of hit points the creature has after the attack. So after you do all of this 5d10 force damage, plus potentially adding your Divine Smite after that, if you're able to reduce them under 50 hit points, you can just take an enemy off the map entirely and remove that threat from combat. I love that overall, and I think this spell is just such a cool visual of just hitting somebody and having them just vaporized in an instant. It's fantastic. And force damage is almost never resisted unless you're fighting like a very specific few constructs. So yeah, Banishing Smite is probably my favorite of these Smite spells, but it is not what I think is the most powerful. And I should mention at this point, second place would also be where I put the additional Smite spell that I did not add on this list. I made a Smite spell myself. I publish content on DM's Guild, which you can get for free. I made a spell called Fossilizing Smite, which works similar to Banishing Smite. Particularly that if you hit an enemy and it reduces them to fewer than 100 hit points, they have to continually make saving throws, or they're petrified, which I thought was a pretty fun visual. But I didn't want to rank it for the sake of keeping things to what everyone will have in their game. So yeah, let's go on to number 1. And number 1, which you might have already guessed by process of elimination, is Thunderous Smite. This is another first level spell. It essentially creates a sonic boom that is audible within 300 feet of you, which is great if you need to signal somebody. Not as great if you need to be stealthy, but that is just one small thing against this spell. 2d6 thunder damage is the best damage you can get on a first level Smite, and thunder damage is similarly to force damage, nearly never resisted unless you're fighting, I believe, a Sapphire Dragon is the one that resists thunder, which is quite cool. I always like that their breath is flavored just as a loud shout, which is super cool. Furthermore, the target, if it's a creature, must make a strength saving throw or be pushed 10 feet away from you and knocked prone. This is a fantastic effect for a number of reasons. Strength saving throws are some of the best to provoke in the game because not many creatures have proficiency in it. Even if creatures have good strength, it is rare that they'll be able to add that proficiency bonus to their strength saving throws. Furthermore, that means that this spell ends as soon as you hit them. All of these spells up until this point are concentration, and that concentration is very difficult to maintain on a paladin. Being in the front line and not generally focusing on Constitution as a stat really makes it so that you're able to just lose your concentration super easily. You're getting hit a lot, and there are a lot of chances to drop it. In this case, you can activate it on your turn with a bonus action, hit somebody, and then you don't have to worry about keeping concentration after that because the effect has already happened. They've already been pushed back and knocked prone. Furthermore, it provides great crowd control and the ability to just move enemies around the battlefield. It's something that I really, really enjoy. I kind of wanted to play a Graviturgy Wizard for a very long time just because I love that so much. And the ability to just push enemies off of a cliff is also quite enticing overall, at least to me. And I think that it being such a low level and so much more accessible, in addition to not having to maintain concentration, is why I put it above Banishing Smite. I think that those things both give it a solid leg up against this very much higher level and higher end spell. So yeah, that has been the list. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you have a favorite of these Smite spells? Do you think my ordering is wrong in any way? Do you play Paladins frequently? Be sure to let me know in the comments. Leave a like, subscribe as I said at the top. I really appreciate it. More videos will be coming soon. I really enjoy making content for this. The pace of videos has slowed a little bit because my summer job has started, but I'm really enjoying that as well. So yeah, I hope you all are having a good day, good week, and I will see you all soon. Bye.